The man accidentally dropped his backpack into the water. Oh no. He hurriedly jumped into the cold water, not caring about the danger. His backpack was swept away by the current. Inside there was something he had to get back even if it cost him his life. He risked his life to swim towards his backpack, holding it tightly in his arms. Just drifting with the current like that. It wasn't until he grabbed a tree branch on the bank that he was saved. A 60-year-old man cannot endure this kind of torment. So why did he choose to walk more than 800 kilometers? There was something in his backpack that he considered a treasure. This must have been since he received the phone call in France, 7,000 kilometers away from where he lived. I'm sorry to inform you that your son has passed away, sir. What? On the ship to France, Tom seemed to see his ambitious son. He dropped out of his PhD to travel around the world. He thinks his father should go with him. But Tom said very few people can let go of everything like you. Dad chose the life he has now, even though it means nothing to you. But his son said Tom didn't choose a life, he just lived. Most parents don't understand their children very well, and Tom is also one of them. Getting off the train, only the suit that Tom was wearing looked extremely mismatched. Everyone here was dressed like a tourist. The captain who contacted Tom earlier welcomed Tom to the team. There's nothing more painful than a person with gray hair saying goodbye to a person with blue hair. Even entering the room to receive a body requires courage. Tom's eyes were a bit avoided. He didn't dare believe this was true. Until he saw his son lying there, Tom's heart skipped a beat. The single father's confusion is clearly shown at this moment. The pain and helplessness in my heart couldn't be contained anymore and rushed out. From now on, he is alone in the world. Through the captain's words, Tom learned that this place was the beginning of the walking journey to Santiago de Compostela and also the road to St. James. Each person departing here will receive a passport. Completing this journey of more than 800 kilometers, this passport will be sealed at each important stop along the route through Spain. The captain told Tom they could assist with cremation so he could bring his son home more conveniently. But Tom didn't answer. He went outside to sit to calm his mood. A Dutch believer named Jute sat down opposite and introduced himself that he was going on pilgrimage to lose weight. On this road, 2 days ago someone had just started and had an accident. That person was Tom's son. In the evening, he reviewed his son's relics and looked at the photos his son left behind. Finally, Tom couldn't hold back anymore and burst into tears. He knocked on the captain's door, wishing to quickly cremate his son. Just like that, DN is contained in a box. Tom received his son's luggage and decided to use it to complete the unfinished journey on his son's behalf to understand more about his son. Before leaving town, the captain came and gave him a stone. He deeply understands Tom's pain of losing a loved one because he also lost a child. The captain wished Tom a smooth journey, and the two said goodbye from here. Tom. This way. Fumbling, vague, staggering, will Tom be able to complete this journey? Let's follow along. Following the starting sign, Tom officially set out on pilgrimage. The scenery on both sides of the road is beautiful beyond words. When passing a road sign, Tom stopped. Next to there was a cross. At that moment he seemed to see the silhouette of his son. This is where his son once stopped. Tom took out his son's ashes and scattered some here. He used this method to lead his son to complete the pilgrimage. He patted the stone guard gently as if comforting his son. The majestic mountain and forest scene also soothed Tom's mood somewhat. He sat here until nightfall before getting up to leave. At midnight, he arrived at the Spanish border and found a motel in a nearby village. This place is a large room with more than 100 people sleeping together. It cost 15 euro for each bed, which was originally room and board, but because we arrived too late, there was no food. Accustomed to a clean, comfortable bed at home, Tom felt a little strange about the bed, but what really kept him up at night was the occasional coughing and snoring. And the last thing that made him lose patience was the sound of plastic bags peeling next to him. Excuse me, do you have Great Poupon ice cream? Fate is always so wonderful, I didn't expect to meet Joost here. He gave Tom some food. Surprisingly, he also had sedatives and earplugs. Just like that, Tom had a comfortable night's sleep. He also received his second seal here. Tom asked the stamp agent if he had ever gone on a pilgrimage, and the other person answered no. When I was young I was too busy. And now I'm older. I'm so tired. With 700 kilometers left to reach Santiago, Joost naturally became Tom's companion. To speed up the next stretch of road, Tom did not rest. But Tom always stops at delicious food along the way. Tom always went faster to spread his son's ashes on the road signs. But was still discovered by Joost. He questioned Tom. When he learned that the ashes were Tom's son, he understood the purpose of this old man's pilgrimage. Tom's actions made him feel admired. At the next stop, Tom plans to rest, but Joost's destination is at the next stop, because their delicious food beckons him. Just like that, the two of them went their separate ways again. There will always be a few people appearing in your life, accompanying you along the way. But different destinations force us to go our separate ways. In the evening, Tom sat outside to rest, and a woman came and sat down opposite him. Tom greeted her, and she began to talk endlessly. Because Tom was a baby boomer, she laughed and said he had all the bad signs of a desperate generation, about to breathe its last. There's only one thing missing from him: a stupid ponytail and a collection of James Taylor songs on his iPod. Although Tom also likes this singer, he doesn't have an iPod. Hearing Tom's answer, Sarah continued to approach. With just one sentence from Tom, she was sure Tom did not have a phone, and moreover did not use a computer. Then she wondered what the purpose of Tom's pilgrimage was. Was he just divorced, or was he going out to meet some young girls? It could also be that you are looking for repentance. Faced with the arrogant woman in front of him, Tom just replied, "You're so crazy." "Yes, I'm crazy." She kept telling herself that the purpose of this trip was to quit smoking. And the day she arrived in Santiago de Compostela was the day she quit smoking. Tom traveled in 2 days, it took her 10 days to complete. Tom was very clear that at this rate, a 2-month journey would take her a year. Sarah agreed with Tom's thoughts. When she was about to say anything more, she discovered that Tom had left. In fact, the person Sarah laughed at was not Tom but her unruly self. Early the next morning, Tom stood on the balcony and discovered that the manor's owner used the tablecloth as a bullfighting cloth. He imitated the bullfighter's movements, like an elegant, brave victor, earning the respect and worship of the audience. "I want to become a bullfighter. My father wants me to be a lawyer. I become nothing. Coffee in common area." Tom went downstairs, not expecting Sarah to have started on her way. He originally thought Sarah would stay a few more days. He wished her a smooth journey and success in quitting smoking. Just like that, Sarah began to value this trip more. After preparing, Tom also set out. Not knowing how long he had been walking, he stopped on the bridge, took off his backpack to stretch, then accidentally dropped his backpack into the water. Luckily he knew how to swim and was able to save his son. Perhaps having lived a peaceful life for too long, the dangerous and exciting scene just now still lingered in his mind. Having all of his son's belongings, Tom slept in the forest one night. The next morning, he followed a group of pilgrims into a city. Who would have thought that Tom would meet Yost here? "Tom, it's me. Even though the goals are different, as long as we walk the same path, we will definitely meet again one day." Just like that, the two became companions once again. But after walking a while, Tom met Sarah again. The group of 2 had now become 3. Tom was always the first to go, spreading his son's ashes in appropriate places. Sometimes on the road you will meet many people. Tom met a priest who gave Tom his rosary. Faced with such a precious gift, at first Tom refused, but when he learned that he still had many rosaries, Tom accepted. The group of pilgrims became more and more crowded, but the group of 3 people who went back and forth in the end was still only 3 people. When they arrived at a meadow, Tom discovered another person. He madly threw a tree branch into the sky. "Careful." He hurriedly came to apologize to the 3 people. His name is Jack, an author from Ireland. Because he was running out of ideas, he wanted to travel around looking for inspiration. Just like that, 3 people turned into 4. This has no effect on Tom. Yost and Jack told each other about the purpose of Tom's trip. Jack finished listening. "Here are the composition materials, nothing else." Sarah became the only person who did not know the purpose of Tom's trip. "He has a really bad attitude. He's had that attitude ever since I met him." "Yes, death has a way of doing that to you." "What do you mean, death?" She doesn't know. What doesn't she know? The group passed through a village, which had a stop rated 5 stars. The homeowner was extremely happy because a pilgrim had come. He told everyone to take out their passports and eagerly wanted to get them stamped. Because on this road, only his stamp is unique. "I will stamp the passport with the Ramon stamp. Ramon mark." After a while, they discovered strange laughter upstairs. 4 people ran up to see and discovered that the homeowner was alone playing many self-acting roles. No different from a psychopath. Just like that, the 4 people did not say goodbye. Since their next stop was a 4-hour walk away, they had to camp overnight in the forest. The next morning, Tom woke up and did not see the 3 of them, so he quickly packed his luggage and prepared to leave. At this time Sarah returned. Tom learned that Yost and Jack had gone to beg for food. Sarah wondered why Tom went to Santiago de Compostela, when suddenly the box of Diane's ashes fell out. Sarah ran to help pick it up. Tom unconsciously grabbed her arm. Tom was dizzy, and Sarah's purpose for this trip was probably not just to quit smoking. Fortunately, his son's ashes were okay. Just like that, Tom, who was originally planning to leave, still left with everyone. Looking at Sarah with an apologetic expression. Although Tom did not want to talk to her, he still deliberately slowed down. Sarah also told Tom about her situation of domestic violence. Because of that situation, she decided to abort her unborn child to avoid giving birth to both mother and child being beaten. The other slap was an unconscious reaction after being beaten many times. Sometimes I hear it, my child. I know it's crazy because he was never born. But I imagine what it sounds like. And sometimes I hear it, Tom. Sometimes I swear I can hear it. I'm so sorry about that. I'm so sorry for your son. My child is almost 40. Yes, but he is still your son. Just like that, the two resolved their misunderstanding. At the next rest stop, Tom drank a few cups. Looking at Jack, who was talking endlessly. Along the way, Tom, who was quiet, started cursing everyone. God, you're a skeleton. Sorry? An arrogant skeleton. Yes, that's what he got. Another testament to Americans' inability to keep their liquor. You see, what do you use to pay for the alcohol here? How many credit cards do you have in your wallet, Jack from Ireland? Yost, who was looking forward to it, was also dragged into it. Sarah was also questioned. What about Boomer? Quote, emotions that had been pent up for so long were released. Then he put on Yost's backpack and wanted to separate from the group and set off alone. But was eventually arrested by the police. After sobering up at the police station, Tom saw his son again. He is gradually reconciling with his son. Jack paid the ransom to Tom, and when he went out, he thanked him. You can thank me for my credit card. The group set off again. Tom promised to pay Jack back the money, but Jack said that as long as he let me write it in the book, we would be out of debt. Tom was of course dissatisfied, but Jack said he would definitely write. At best he would change his name. Tom reluctantly had to compromise. Jack wanted to know what kind of person his deceased son was. Tom, who didn't want to talk about it, finally told about his son, who was both familiar and strange. Jack took out a notebook, intending to write it down. Can I? Yost was very happy to see that Tom had opened up. The group reached Burgos, where they reunited with the Pilgrim Army. Tom's backpack was stolen by a child. 4 people chased to an alley. Yost advised everyone not to pursue further. Because this place is a gypsy area, no one is in charge of this group. Tom just asked them to return his son's ashes box. Under Yost's advice, the group sadly left. A driver saw this scene. Tom planned to abandon the journey and leave here, and at this moment the other driver came. It turned out that the other thief was his son. He returned Tom's backpack. The box containing the ashes was still intact. He reprimanded his son because such actions caused the gypsies to have a bad reputation. To correct his reputation, he sincerely invited 4 people to his house. Just like that, 4 people participated in the gypsy festival. The other driver told Tom not to consider Santiago de Compostela as a destination but to go to a temple in Musha. Go there and scatter his son's ashes into the sea. For him and for you. Tom wasn't sure why he told him to do that. After calming down, the group continued on their way. They encountered many new things along the way. Going to the toilet is also quite convenient. Throughout the journey, everyone was healed. The knots in their hearts were gradually removed. Until the last 300 kilometers. Tom suddenly suggested staying one night in the most luxurious hotel in England. Of course all costs will be paid by Tom. Really? For all of us? Just like that, the 4 people entered the luxurious motel. Yost looked at his growing beer belly in the mirror before remembering his original purpose. Sitting in front of the hotel's delicious seafood table, he only took one bite and then put down his chopsticks. In the evening, Tom was sitting in his room when he heard a knock on the door. Would you invite me in? Insomniac Sarah arrived without hesitation, lying on the sofa. Make yourself comfortable. Not long after, there was another knock on the door. Yost also came and saw Sarah lying on the sofa. Oh, it seems I just interrupted something. Come in. Yost brought a delicious bottle of wine, but just as the 3 of them were about to finish their glasses, the knock on the door rang again. You don't have to think to know that Jack is also having insomnia. Are you kidding me? Oh, hello. Looks like the 3 of them rented 3 rooms in vain. No matter how large the room is, without laughter and conversation it won't be as warm as being crowded together in a rough motel. The group continued on their way, not knowing how long they traveled. When they came to a pile of rocks, Sarah took out a stone. It turned out that the stone that the captain gave Tom before leaving was used here. It is what witnessed the pilgrim's strenuous journey. When scattering ashes, Tom no longer avoided people. Everyone also waited patiently for him. The journey to Santiago de Compostela was about to end. Tom planned to go to the cathedral that the other driver mentioned. The remaining 3 people are all preparing to return to the real world. Just like that, they reached the final destination of their pilgrimage. The magnificent Santiago de Compostela Cathedral. In front of the church door, Sarah put down her cigarette pack and finally stepped inside as if she had relieved herself of a burden. Everyone took off the luggage they had carried so heavily on the road here. Only Yost followed instructions, kneeling before the saint's statue to show his respect. The incense burner in the church is burned, a formal ceremony officially begins. The officiant tied the incense burner to a string and pulled it up. The scent became increasingly stronger under the influence of the fire, until it spread throughout the church. All crimes seem to be swept away by incense and smoke, and the tired soul is washed away. And finally Tom brought his son to the end. The group stamped the final stamp here, then the staff gave Tom a certificate of completing the journey. Tom looked at the name written on it and told the staff that the name was wrong and asked to change it to a boy's name. So everything was complete. Tom completed his original goal. But after the end, they were not saved as they thought. Everyone felt empty as if something was missing. Until Tom smiled, Jack understood, Sarah understood and Yost also understood. Without saying much, the four continued their journey, with Tom to the last stop that the other driver had mentioned, Musha. They stood in front of the big ocean, big waves crashing against the rocky shore, making Jack unable to help but exclaim, "Perhaps composition is like the scene before your eyes. Sometimes there is no need for words to describe it." Sarah lit her last cigarette. "Not related to smoking cessation. I believe you understand." Yost no longer worries too much about weight. If the vest doesn't fit, buy a new one. If his wife doesn't want to be near him, there's no way. In the end, only Tom and his son remained. This journey helped him understand that only by letting go and accepting can one be saved. He went to the beach and scattered his son's ashes below. The pilgrimage ends here. And Tom's own journey has just begun. The movie ends here.